All right, everybody, Stocks by the Numbers, welcome back. Wanted to do another video here talking about IBM, International Business Machines Corporation. Ticker symbol IBM, listed here on the New York Stock Exchange. Company came out, posted earnings. Another nice beat on the top and bottom line for IBM, marking now several quarters in a row that the company again announced that they were kind of restructuring their whole business. Everyone was beating them up for like 4 or 5 years. Now the stock is rocking and rolling. We're talking about like a 12, 13-year high going back to like 2013 or something. The stock rapidly approaching that $200 mark, as you see, hitting new highs today, 196.90. Stock right now trading at about 190 even, still up 16 points, 9.25%. Obviously was up significantly more several hours ago. However, if we look at the numbers here, we can see that the company posts 387 a share on estimates of 379 a share, coming in 2% above analyst expectations, and a slight beat on the revenue side by about 92 million and change, a little over 0.5%, posting 17.381 billion on 289 billion. And if we look here, we pull up a 1-year chart, you can see the stock has been absolutely rocking and rolling here. If we go back to the beginning of 2023, you can see the stock was at that 140 range, dropped all the way down to 120, and now today almost hit $200 a share. So the percentage gains that you would have seen here, if you bought when everyone was fearful, like our friend Warren Buffett says, obviously you're up 60-70% here over the longer term. But long story short here, basically, if I connect here these highs here from October 8th 2020 here, coming up to that top candle there of April 29th 2021, cutting through to, I believe it touches the body. Yeah, see, it touches the top of the body of that candle there on June 10th 2021, and also the top of the candle on June 11th 2021. And if we draw that out, what we see is, let me back this up here, still can't see it, but if we come in here, we can see that, as you see on the right side of the screen, we're talking about 200 plus easily. We're talking 220, potentially 2.25, and maybe even more. That, in my opinion, is where the stock is going to go, given a little bit more time, because even if we look at the numbers here off of this big pump, we can see that we have a market cap now, we're up to 173.5 billion. The company's still paying a nice dividend here, currently yielding a little less than 4% here at 3.8%. The PE, a little over 21. Right now, when we look at other tech stocks, especially any companies benefiting off of the AI space, their valuations are through the frickin' roof. And I believe it was JP Morgan that was quoted saying that the stock is kind of not being rewarded the same way a lot of other companies in the AI space are. And I think that, in my opinion, them saying that means that now it's in the crosshairs again, and now they're just going to pump it because of the AI sector. Now, I know I say just because, but obviously revenue has significantly turned around, and the demand is up for the AI space overall. And I know a lot of people, when IBM first started with the AI, with the Watson, again, a lot of people were beating them up. They didn't see the immediate revenue and returns that they anticipated off of that technology. So that's why the stock kind of got beaten up for several years and was just flying underneath the radar. A lot of people forgot about it. And as you see, just over the course of about the last, 8 months, the stock has been on an absolute tear, just coming in with a slight miss there on revenue there, about 14 million and change, and another slight miss there up to 15 billion. But then we can see the company rocking and rolling for the last 2 quarters, and now taking that next leg higher in that revenue level, jumping up to north of 17 billion for the quarter. So even coming down here, we can see the tremendous growth that took place here over the last 3 or 4 quarters. And of course, the profitability as well. As you see, net margins dropped to 6.5%, climbed back up to north of 10, north of 11. As of last quarter, almost 19% net margin percentage off of that 17 plus billion. So the company really has completely turned everything around. And of course, we're hearing a story like this across multiple sectors, right, with a bunch of different companies. I just uploaded a video talking about Nokia, saying that we have to deal with the short-term volatility for potential long-term growth. And that is basically exactly what happened with IBM several years ago. you had to deal with that short-term volatility as the company was getting all its ducks in a row and preparing for what can take place 2, 3, 5 years down the road. And I'm sure everyone and their brother counted IBM out and probably called it, a big cap, large cap, dead tech stock that was probably going to slowly dwindle down and just continue to lose market share. And then what happens? We have the exact opposite situation, right? AI sector starts raging. The company again starts bringing in more and more revenue, increasing its profitability. Now all of a sudden the stock's hitting new 52-week highs, and of course it's at like a 12-year high. Now if we back up here, let me just show you, you can see the stock was slightly above that $200 level, and we're talking about, look at this, March, April 2013. So it took quite some time to get back to those levels, but you can see how the stock dropped down for years and then has now begun to make its recovery. So that's why if you can handle the volatility and seeing that red return in your account while the company is going through that restructuring, you have to stay confident and expect, well, not really expect, you have to kind of hope that the company actually does what it says it's going to do and actually delivers. And IBM has been delivering. I cannot deny it. But here at a market cap of 173 billion, I still say the stock is actually undervalued, believe it or not, which is why I drew out that top resistance trend line, and I feel that, in my opinion, the company is going to hit new all-time highs and get above that 202, 203 mark that it was back in 2013. And I have a feeling that now, because the AI segment of the business has been performing so well, now it's going to get rewarded like a lot of these overhyped, overpumped AI stocks, right? We have companies like NVIDIA, AMD trading at these crazy valuations, in my opinion. NVIDIA, obviously, with its market cap is just out of control. And AMD, the last time I looked, now the stock's trading, I believe, at a PE of over 1,400. So that's why looking at a stock like this, you can probably easily make the argument that the stock should continue higher there. Look at the drop, the sell-off. Look at the drop down in revenue from 2019 to 2020 that IBM suffered, going from the 70 plus billion range back in 2019 down to the 50 billion range. And yes, it took several years, but the company has been slowly rebounding. And we can see now that even for 2023, we have total revenue, we'll call it about 62 billion. And again, we have a market cap of 173 billion. So if we do some quick arithmetic, we can see that the stock is actually still trading after this pump. The stock is still trading less than 3 times annual revenue. And again, we have a PE of only 21.4. I mean, that PE could easily get pumped to 24, 25 conservatively. The company could still conservatively be viewed as fair or undervalued even at that point. And that's why I'm saying I think that we can easily still see this next leg higher. And of course, I mean, it could pause for a couple of days. Who knows exactly when it's going to happen, but overall, just looking at these numbers, looking at the whole situation, and of course, looking at how other tech companies have been rewarded with their AI growing business, I actually think, in my opinion, it is inevitable that a company like IBM continues upward, hits and breaks above that 200 mark, and soon will hit new all-time highs, well over $200 a share. And that's why I showed that top resistance trend line there, looking for about 220, potentially 2.25 per share down the road. But as you see here, IBM's accelerating AI demand helps power stock higher, right? Everywhere you look, people are pretty much bullish on the situation. Big Blue gets bigger. Look, source to 11-year high. AI bet begins to pay off. Shares jump. See, this is interesting, though. UBS just ups its price target from 120 to 125. Maintains sell rating. That is interesting to me. That really doesn't make any sense here. And I'm curious. Nope, there's just really no further information on that. Simply just a headline. But as you see here, you have people on the complete opposite side of the fence. You have B of A coming out saying that IBM expecting strong revenue growth through 2025, right? So that means essentially the next 7 to 8 quarters, the company is going to continue to see strong revenue growth. The company also said, I believe, they're expecting growth of 4 to 6% throughout the year. I want to see if I can find that article again, but you can see B of A raises the price target here from 170 up to 200. As I said, easily, in my opinion, could be $200+ stock. Maintains their buy rating. Apparently doing Grammy nominee coverage, but oh, where was that article now? Here we go. Order from IBM's generative AI business, which includes booking and sales from services such as those powered by its Watson AI platform, doubled in the fourth quarter and are expected to help its revenue grow by around 4 to 6% in 2024, the company reported late on Wednesday. So that's why we're expecting not only for the company to maintain this now current revenue level, but of course to continue to grow, as we see, by a percentage of roughly 4 to 6%, as these analysts are expecting here. This jump added about $20 billion to the market cap. Raised their price targets. Yep, okay. Look, medium price target, 20 analysts, still 144.5, right? So this is what I mean. These people, they're late to the party. They forgot about IBM. They're not paying attention to the current situation and what the company is currently doing here in the AI sector with their Watson technology. And, that's also why I think the stock can easily get up to above 200 as well, because now I feel like over the next couple of days or weeks now that the analysts kind of reevaluate the situation and crunch these new numbers and look at the upbeat forecast moving forward for IBM. I actually think that more analysts and more institutions are going to come out and they're actually going to start to raise their price targets on IBM. But of course, that's just a personal prediction. That's just my opinion. IBM stock currently trading at about 17 times its next 12 months expected earnings, which I'm sure if we compare it to a lot of the other big tech names in the sector, that's much, much less than these other companies, versus its 2-year historical average of about 14 times. But remember, we're talking about the last 2 years as the company was going through this restructuring phase, right? So you can't really, in my opinion, compare it to that 2-year historical average. But as you see here, while its peers were trading at about 20 times, right? So even now, we're talking 17 times the next 12 months, peers trading at 20 times. So now we're talking what? We're talking like 1/6, which is roughly what? Like 17%, which again is why I'm saying now, if that translates exactly to a proportionate move in stock price, now we're talking like 225, 230 plus per share. If we're talking about like another 16, 17% move from this point to get the stock trading at 20 times its next 12 months expected earnings, but we'll see. JP Morgan analysts led by Brian Esses raised their price target to 190 from 170. I mean, the stock right now is at 190. I never understood why they make their price targets at current stock prices. I don't really understand who that helps and what you're trying to showcase by even putting out that price target. But this right here, in my opinion, was the main statement, which is why I think that we are going to even see further continued bullish momentum in IBM stock. As it says here, quote, "We don't think IBM has seen the valuation benefit that some technology peers have from AI, as recent multiple expansion has trended generally below the primary comparisons we look to for valuation." So basically what they're saying is, okay, the company's kicking ass and taking names in the AI space. And again, we look at stocks like NVIDIA or AMD who ventured into the AI space, and we're rewarding them very, very handsomely for having increased sales and seeing, that segment of the business increasing quarter over quarter, year over year, and they're now consistently beating on the top and bottom lines on these earnings reports. And even though IBM has now recently been doing the same thing, we're still kind of viewing it as just the average stock, and we're not rewarding it and really pumping it up as the rest of the stocks in the AI space. So that's why I feel, again, I'll pull out an all chart here, and you can see it kind of goes off the screen, but I do feel conservatively we're talking 2.25, $230 a share. And of course, you had a big price action area taking place here around like this $190 to $200 level, which is why, in my opinion, the stock hit just about 197 and then began to kind of slightly pull back here. But I do feel that we could potentially form like this long-term U-turn, this V reversal here, that here in the short term, well, not, excuse me, here in the long term, going back to 2020, right, we could potentially see like, where is it? We could potentially see this long-term ascending triangle potentially setting up here, which is why, again, I feel that we're talking about bigger and better things. So if this does come to fruition, I mean, here we're talking about an apex going into 2027, so I'm not exactly sure if it's even going to take that long. But how about if we go from here and go up like that? As you see now, we're talking what? We're still talking October, September, October. However, markets have been pumping. That's the point I wanted to make also. Markets seem to remain bullish and continue to hold their value and want to go higher. And everyone really seems to be still buying. So, if that's the case, then we're probably going to see this pump happen sooner rather than later. And it may not even have to approach that apex later in the year. And I really do believe, again, I understand the technicals don't really look exactly how I'm trying to portray them out personally here in my mind. But at the end of the day, I just feel like we have a lot of positives here on IBM. And again, basically verbatim, as that analyst said, the stock is not being rewarded like its peers that are also in the AI space. And that's why now I think that more volume, more price target raises, more positivity is actually going to come out here with IBM. So the stock could get up to this, 270 level, 201 level, and it could bounce around for a little bit. But overall, I feel like with all of this positivity taking place, it's only a matter of time, in my opinion, before it breaks above this high 200, low 201 level and breaks up into the 210s and the 220s. But that's just my opinion, of course. But switching over here to stock charts quickly, and I'll let you go, we can see also that the RSI has absolutely raged. But again, we had the stock running up here, not only with the rest of the market throughout November as this rally started, but also the company came out and reported earnings. I think it was maybe like right around here, mid-November, and you can see that that bullish momentum just continued. So the RSI here on the daily really can't be viewed as an indicator here for the most part, in my opinion. It's not a definitive director of where the stock price could go, because as you see, coming off of those earnings, the stock basically maintained an RSI of 70 plus for almost 4 straight weeks. So even with the RSI here at almost 88, which seems ridiculously high, I mean, yeah, maybe we can take a day or two to pause, but overall, I actually feel that the momentum may continue. Look at the MACD just spiking straight up here, still staying to the upside. And even on the weekly, we have the RSI now approaching almost 83. But again, during that same time frame there, November, December, even on the weekly, the RSI was up for several weeks after that positive earnings came out. So that's why I feel like now, I almost feel like a lot of traders and a lot of investors now see that, they got their ducks in a row, they're back on track. But again, more importantly, that they weren't rewarded as well as some of its peers and some of its competitors. So now they're expecting that, again, even more growth is going to come into the stock, which is why I think that regardless of what the MACD is doing, regardless of what the RSI is on the daily, the weekly, right? No one's really paying attention to these Bollinger Bands. Everyone now kind of, I don't want to say has that FOMO, but at the same time, that's kind of what I feel like is taking place, right? I feel like everyone counted them out, everyone forgot about them, they were flying underneath the radar. Now they're raging, but now people see that they're in the AI space. So anytime people read or hear AI, they just push the buy button. And that's why I'm saying that now all of these newer traders and investors are piling into the stock now, which is just going to add volume to the situation, which is just going to further pump the stock up. And that's why, again, I feel like 220 to 230, in my opinion, I think that is a layup of a price target, especially with the stocks staying up the way they are. And, major indices have been bouncing around today, but, it looks like everything's slowly climbing here going into about the last hour of trading. So the NASDAQ probably going to end up closing green on the day. And, stocks just continue to climb. And the best stocks, in my opinion, to look for as markets continue to climb and hit highs are the stocks that flew underneath the radar, could potentially be viewed as fair or undervalued still, or could obviously see better growth over the course of the next couple of months, right? So again, I know that's kind of like a generalized statement. However, I will say with something like an AMD or an Nvidia, we could say that they've been raging for so long, so it technically doesn't have to go higher, right? But now when we look at a company like IBM, we can actually say, technically, in my opinion anyway, the stock actually has to go higher. And that's why, as crazy as it sounds, even riding a massively high moving wave on a stock like Nvidia, potentially rolling out some of those assets now, liquidating that position and rolling it into the next company that's going to potentially start climbing up the ladder like IBM may not be the worst decision in the world. But of course, everyone's different. Everyone's going to look at the situation differently, which is why we have the comments section, which is why I always say if there's something in the numbers that I did not see or I did not address, let us know down in the comments section. If you see something in the technicals that I missed or read incorrectly, please let everyone know down in the comments section. I have no problem being critiqued or corrected, especially if the information you provide is correct. These blanketed general statements like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, like those, that does not help anyone at all. But here we can see the RSI continuing to climb up here, now above 88. And even though it was a big gap up, and of course we could slowly come down and fill that gap, at the end of the day, again, I really have to side and agree with what that analyst said of the fact that now we're dealing with a growing AI company that is not being rewarded as other AI stocks. And you can see here on the daily, it just completely jumped up well above these resistance levels here back in the 160s and the 170s. And if we switch over here to the weekly, we can see that the stock now has a resistance level of 198.05, which is why, again, I say, in my opinion, I think you just give it a couple of days and chances are it'll pump back up to that level, break above that resistance, and then hit that 200 plus mark. I really don't see the stock pulling back here for any reason, really. For any reason. Again, trading about, still at this level, trading less than 3 times annual revenue here. So, I'm going to end it there. So, once again, this is Talks About the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And, of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky and volatile and very uncertain. So I do want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day.